guys, it's Rain, and today we're going to be working on a perler / artkal bead project. This is for beginners and anyone that has not used the mini perler beads for any of their projects. So we're going to be using the itty bitty perler beads, and even though I covered my budgie's cage, he's making a lot of noise. So I'm going to cover it a little bit better so he be's a little bit more quiet. Alright, so now that budgie butt is all tucked away in his cage, hopefully we won't get any more tweets or squawks or anything like that, and we can continue on with our project. So we're going to need a few things. We're going to need pegboards. So these are little boards that you put the perler beads on. These guys are pretty small. You're going to need an assortment of perler bead colors. If you're going to be doing the project a little bit more advanced, I would also suggest picking up either painter's tape or masking tape. I'm going to need a pair of scissors, and this will save you a whole bunch of headache. This is a tiny, I don't know if it'll, there we go. So this is a tiny set of tweezers. Come on. Yeah, so these are pretty small. They have a really small end. And these are perler tweezers, specifically for the really tiny beads. So what I'll do is I'll open this up here. I'll just show you. So these guys are really small. So on top of those supplies, we'll also need a pattern. So you can see up here, right up there, I have a pattern up in the corner. I got this pattern off of the Sprider's resource. I will link it down below so that you guys can check it out. It has a whole bunch of different gaming sprites that you can use for your beading project. And I just opened it up in the GIMP. I did a little bit easier to use for people that are just beginning. And again, the price is right. It's free. All the different pixels on there so that we can create a reproduction of our little charmander here. Now, I'm not sure how many of these little guys it's going to take, so I have 4 of them here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to snap them together. And these little containers I actually got from the dollar store, which are pretty handy for putting perler beads in to work with, because you can dump them into the cap and you can use them from there so that they're not all over your desk. Now, the way I usually start my perler bead project is I start with the outline. So the outline for this one is in black. So what we'll do is we'll start by doing around the outline. We're going to want to do the farthest corner. So we're going to want to start with the farthest corner right here. Yeah, you should be able to see my mouse. Right here. So it's going to go along the edge. It's going to go along the edge here so that we have enough space for the rest of the perler beads. Now in this case I am using a combination. The black ones here, these are perlers. My white ones here are what's left of my white perler beads. And then of course you can tell these guys are all artkal beads. And these are the ones that I got in my last artkal bead haul video. And if you guys want to take a look at that, I will post a link somewhere around so that you guys can take a look at that. So what we want to do is, let's see, from the top we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 from the top. So I usually like going 7 or 8 from the top. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So somewhere around here, I usually like to go 1 in from the farthest on the left side. Oh, looks like we got 3 here for the nose or the side of the face. And these guys make it so much easier to pick up these tiny beads because they are so little. Now it might take a little bit of practice because I know I've had times where I have bumped my project and beads have gone flying and I've rage quit and I've had to put the project down and come back the next day to work on it. And I mean, that is okay. It's a learning curve. The practice makes perfect. And with small beads like this, we need a little bit of patience. Because sometimes they also don't want to come off the end of the tweezers. Okay, now there was another color that I didn't pull out. It looks like I need some gray, so I'm going to have to find some gray. And just remember that this is just a guideline. You don't have to use the exact same colors that it shows in the sprite pattern or the pixel pattern that you use. It is all up to you on what colors you want to use. And in some cases, it's what is available. Because where I live, the only place you can buy perler beads is at Michael's. And they vastly overcharge for their perler beads. They are really expensive. And they only come in certain colors, which is why I switched over to artkal. You do have to order them online, and it can take a little bit for you to get them, but the shipping is free. And they use food-grade plastic, so it's non-toxic. And it comes in a lot more colors than the perler beads do. Now, I'm not sure. The perler beads, I'm guessing, are probably also non-toxic, but I'm not sure if they use food-grade plastic. I did do an earlier, oh, I missed a bead. I did do an earlier video, a how-to for beginners for perler beading. That one was using the regular sized perler beads that you normally find in stores. And for that one, I actually used Freddy from Five Nights at Freddy's. So if you want to take a look at that one before tackling a project with the smaller beads, you can go ahead and I will throw the link down below in the description, and you guys can check that video out too. So if you've been following along, we now have an adorable little charmander that's all been set out in beads. And now we're going to tape it up and then we will iron it. Now this part is optional, but I find doing this a little bit easier than just putting the parchment paper down and ironing it. Now you gotta be careful. When you put the tape down, you have to commit, because if you try to put it down and then pick it up again to move it around, you're going to get beads stuck to the sticky side of your tape, which has happened to me before. So down. Smooth on, make sure it's sticking to all your beads. Now I can remove this without worrying about my beads going all over the place. Now this part you can do a few different ways. If you have a rubber mallet, you can use one of your other pegboards, or if you're really strong. And what you're going to want to do is line up the pegs with the holes, which is sometimes easier said than done. Because what we're going to want to do is inside these guys, which is why I have this, because it has a sharp edge, or a sharp pokey end, because sometimes I just end up doing this to help poke holes in all of your beads. Now, obviously we're not poking holes in the beads, we're just poking holes in the tape where the natural hole is in the plastic bead, which is sometimes easier said than done. You're probably wondering why we need to poke holes in the tape. And that is because when we're ironing this, if we don't have holes, the heat won't be able to escape. And if the heat doesn't escape, you will get a blowout. And what happens then is you're going to get a little hole in your beads. Just holding it up to the light so that I can see here. You're going to get a hole in your beads that does not melt over. So you won't get a nice finish when you iron your project. So I think I got them all. So we have all of our holes punched in there. We're going to flip this guy over, and we are going to carefully remove our pegboard. Oh, one of our beads got free. And that's easy enough to fix. Just tuck them back in there. And what I like to do is press down and make sure that all of my beads are stuck. So now we can move the pegboard away. We won't have to worry about the pegboard potentially warping from the heat of the iron. And then we just cut around the tape to get rid of all of this excess. It'll make it easier when we are ironing. Yeah, a pair of scissors aren't always the best thing. If you have a self-healing mat and an X-Acto knife or a craft blade, you can do it that way as well. So now we have our cute little charmander, and it is now ready for ironing. So I'm gonna go get my iron, gonna get it all heated up, and I'll be back. So while you're waiting for your iron to heat up, grab yourself some parchment paper. I usually suggest getting this over the little tiny square thingies that come with the beads, because it can leave little creases and whatnot in your work. So I usually grab a piece. And then cut it to a manageable size. Now you can use any kind of iron. I would suggest getting a separate iron or a crafting iron, one that you're not going to use on your clothes, because sometimes you know, accidents happen and you might get plastic and whatnot melted onto your iron. So I use my iron strictly for crafting purposes because it has gotten all kinds of stuff stuck to the bottom of it in the past. So and make sure that if you are young and you are not allowed to use the iron, to ask your parents to help you with this part. As the tape gets stuck to my fingers, give it a little pat, make sure none of the beads are loose. You want to do this lightly. You don't want to press down your full weight. Cover it onto your bead project or else it's going to get squished and it could deform it. And we want to constantly keep the iron moving. I usually like doing it in little circular patterns. And you'll know that your beads are starting to melt when you can start to really see them through the parchment paper. Carefully peel the parchment paper off of it. We've got our little guy here. And if you're done with your iron, always make sure you turn it off. The last thing you're going to want to do is touch a hot iron by mistake. I have done that before. It's not fun. And then carefully, because it's still going to be warm, peel the tape off of the back, and as it cools, you want to grab a book or something heavy. I'm going to put a couple of books on here and press down because the plastic will want to curl and warp as it starts to cool down. So to keep your project nice and flat, you're going to want to put a heavy book on it. Also, out of random, these are really good books. If you can find them, you should read them. All of them. Okay, so it is still a little warm. I actually did a pretty good job. There are, you probably can't see them on the camera, but there are still some tiny holes in there that didn't quite get a melt, but actually that's not bad. It looks like a piece of pixel art, almost exactly like the little picture. I think I should have used the other orange instead, but it's not too bad. I like it, it's cute. And if you want, while it's still warm, you can take your awl, this little guy with the little sharp point, and you can poke a hole in the top of it, put a little jump ring in there, and put it on a necklace, or you can make it into a keychain. So there we go. We made a cute little pixel art charmander. So if you guys want to see any more pixel art projects, if you have any questions, please let me know down below. And again, if you like my videos, if you like any of my how-tos, my tutorials, my art videos, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.